Something valuable to learn is when you're taking on too much, and that sometimes you need to scale things back, and that it's important to scale things back. This doesn't mean that you're shorting yourself of content, but rather taking care of yourself, especially when on a deadline. This was an important lesson I had recently with Rose's Garden, and as a result, I've made some changes to the original proposal. Today, we'll discuss those as well as cover what has been completed and where we'll be going for the next level design check-in. Starting off, let's discuss the current functions of the demo. You can buy seeds from Duncan and plant them in your garden. They'll grow over the course of a few days, and when ready, you can harvest them. With these harvested crops, you can either sell them or gather other ingredients from the market and use those to bake. Selling these baked goods completes and restarts the current core game loop. However, by the level design demo, you will also be able to gift these and the crops to the NPCs. As of the moment, I've dropped the minigames as I was never truly sold on the concept and just found that it cluttered up my demo. I tried so hard to come up with unique ideas just to make these enticing and to get ways to get to work, and the code just ended up being too much for the time I was allotted, especially with other things going on, so they've been put to a back burner. That said, they're not completely out of the cards. If they get revisited, however, it'll have to be towards the UI phase or later in development when I have the wiggle room to plot them out in full. Other smaller mechanics include the day-to-day progression and time mechanics, currency, and general inventory management. There's also currently a weather generator, but I plan to swap this out later for a boost mechanic similar to the luck mechanic from Stardew Valley that will affect your stats for the day, as there's really no point to having weather in my game right now other than visual flair. I don't plan to include watering the plants as I just find that this takes up time during the day for the player, and there's other things they could be doing. With those all out of the way, now let's address the changes and the changes to the scope of the demo going forward. One thing I came to realize is that planning an in-game month with events wasn't possible within the time I have allotted for working on this project. As such, I've decided to trim down and focus on the very first week in the game. This way, players can get a feel for the gameplay style without having to deal with empty content in an attempt to pad the game, and it gives a nice narrow vertical slice that trims down a lot of the fluff that I was padding it with before. That all said, I do plan to integrate at least one character's heart events, that character being Duncan. Duncan just seems like an appropriate place to kind of tease where the story's going, since his story is so intertwined with Rose and just so integral on his connection with her. With Duncan in mind and teasing already what's to come with the new level design phase, I'd like to address what's going to be done in that in more detail. So starting off, there will be new mechanics in the level design demo. I don't love the fact that I had to push these back, but it's just more practical with current time constraints. So in this new demo, you'll see things such as gifting, NPC dialogue, heart events with Duncan, and the festival at the end of the week. With these in place, we can start shifting into more of an art focus, more so than I've already been doing. I tend to do art as a de-stressor or breaks from code, or even sometimes just when I don't have the time to code but want to work on the game. I can do a drawing in 5 minutes, but sometimes coding can take hours to get done. For the environmental art, I really want to be able to put a focus into Alice's apartment, Rose's garden, the inside of the bakery, the inside of Duncan's shop, the shopping district itself, and then the vineyard where the festival is going to be held at the end of the week. Not every location that I had planned for is listed here. However, these are the most important for the demo and for that first week of gameplay, which is why they're getting my focus now, as I really want to have them fleshed out to a point that I'm happy with to push forward on all the rest of the content. Duncan, Alice, and Harrison will also have the most focus in terms of character art. Other characters may be added in as decoration to fill the space, but other than a few lines, won't be fully interactable. I find it funny that these three are going to be the core features of my demo the second time, as they were the core parts of the first demo, all three filling a role in the tutorial, Alice being the player, Harrison being your guide, and then Duncan being the shopkeep. With all these elements in place, I'll be able to fix the UI issues that are currently present in the demo. Something I've noticed while working through the mechanics is that it's quite difficult to place the interface without knowing where the visual focus of backgrounds will be. Even if the designs aren't finalized in this stage, I hope to fix the clutter and display the necessary information clearly and cleanly without having any overlap. Bringing this full circle, I will be adding in 2 more mechanics that are more so UI focused than anything else, hence why I didn't list them with the earlier mentioned mechanics. These mechanics are the travel system and the inventory itself. So the inventory, the goal for that is to switch it to a backpack, as players only really need 1 item present in the overworld for gifting. And this this can easily be switched through using the mouse wheel or bumpers on a controller. Moving things into the bag will also allow the player to have more inventory space. This can easily go from only having 6 slots available to a more crazy number like 18 slots total. This way, players aren't necessarily having to worry about what they're holding in their inventory at a given time, and it also just makes it just a little bit cleaner for what's visible on screen, and it doesn't hog up the entire space with this bar. As for the travel system, I've decided against having traditional character movement and instead want to take a note from Persona 3 Portable. Rose's Garden, first and foremost, is definitely a point-and-click style game, and I just find that having a character doesn't really matter when you're playing those types of game, as your character is really just the cursor and not necessarily where you're standing on the screen. So yes, we'll be following around a cursor, however, I will find ways to integrate Alice into the game, whether this will be having her icon in the bottom corner of the screen or just having her in small things like the bakery UI. We have yet to determine, but there have been sketches and therefore there will be results. Besides, not having this character up on the screen means that it'll be just a little bit quicker to travel between spaces. Something that makes life easier when I'm taking walks or shopping: the submenu button. With just a press of the submenu button, you can come and go as you please. Ah, the wonderful submenu button. The ever-present press me anytime submenu button. Possibly one of my favorite jokes from Persona 4, and I want to bring it into the game just because I think being able to flip between spaces with the options of a menu or even hotkeys will be so much easier than having to walk back and forth. While not everything will be teleport ready, you can't just show up in Dunkin' Shop from inside your home. You can, however, jump between the garden space, the shopping district, and the other various areas that will be appearing throughout the development. I think it'll just break things up enough where it's convenient but not overwhelming for players. Thank you for following along with me on my journey through Rose's Garden's development, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.